cars smashing into nothing, time travelers spotted in broad daylight, and the Pope himself glitching on live television. We have all of this on today's top 10 list. Coming in number 10, we have the invisible car crash. Now, there are tons of ways to explain real-life glitches. When you see someone lag on camera, that could have just been the recording. When you see a plane stalled in the sky like we had on our last video, that could be explained through some clever editing. But I don't really know how you fake a car crash like the one I'm about to show you. Yeah, you guys just saw what I just saw, right? That was a car that was crashing into nothing. There was a car that was zooming along the highway, and then it smacked into an invisible barrier. Now, this could have been some pole in the road that was angled so perfectly that the driver and the camera couldn't see it. Now, that is possible, but highly unlikely. How could something that thin and small be strong enough to cause a moving car that's going about 60 kilometers an hour to stop in its tracks? Was there some sort of invisible force field there that was left on by accident? Or could this just be someone spending hours editing something strange to put out as disinformation to make us all very confused? Either way, I would be pissed if I was the owner of that car. You don't do anything wrong, and then something invisible causes your car to be a write-off? Is that even covered under your insurance? Coming at number 9, we have sailing in the sky. If you have it in your mind that you will never reach the level of wealth to afford a sailboat, well, let me tell you that there's a whole other level of wealth that we have no idea about. There is a class of people who have been taking their boats to the skies. Aren't we all seeing that right now? I have no idea how reflections off the water will affect your camera and how it will pick that up, but that looks like someone got their boat to fly through the sky at a very reasonable pace. I mean, that boat is just cruising along, not too fast or slow. Sky sailing is a brand new thing, and this guy has already mastered it, but how on earth is that happening? Is there some new boat-shaped plane that we don't know about? I mean, that does sound like something that Elon Musk would make. Tesla has a car that looks like a tank, and now they have a plane that looks like a boat. Coming in number 8, we have teleporting, time traveling, or NPC. I would imagine that sometime in the future we will lock down teleportation. I don't know if time travel is on the table, but who knows? If we went back 100 years and got someone to eat Korean fried chicken, they might have an overdose from all the flavor. But if people are working on it, you would imagine it would take some time to work out all the kinks. In this next clip, we might be seeing the early stages of people glitching reality so they can teleport. You see, that massive truck had to swerve out of the way so that they didn't crash into that lady. Some random woman appeared out of nowhere, and it looks like she has a perfectly clean lab coat on. I mean, I don't know how someone would end up walking around in the middle of the highway miles away from any town, but they usually don't dress like they came right out of the lab. She seems so calm even though she was almost hit by a truck. Usually when a 16-wheeler has to swerve out of the way so it doesn't crash into me, I wet my jeans just a little bit. But she's just strolling like she knew she was going to be safe, or she's a poorly programmed NPC. Next on the list, we have Brady Fiegel squared. There are a lot of people in this world who say they have found their twin. I'm looking at you, David Diggs. If I get tagged in one more picture of you, I'm gonna have to chase you down and take a side-by-side picture so people know we're not the same person. But even though David Diggs and I kinda look the same, we have nowhere close to the same similarities as Brady Fiegel and Brady Fiegel. For one, both these guys have the exact same name. On top of that, they both play professional baseball. On top of that, they are both left-handed pitchers. This seems pretty rare, and you would expect this to be the point where the similarities end. Well, guess what? There's more. For one, they both look almost identical. They both have had the same surgery from the same doctor, and they even dress similar, wearing the same glasses. It would seem that the random person generator that populates this planet with people might have glitched and made two copies of the same dude. People thought that they might have been long-lost twins that were separated at birth. A DNA test showed that that wasn't true, but they did have the same German ancestry. Coming in next on the list, we have the cat reflection. I don't know what kind of software is going into making the mirrors in our giant simulation world, but it would seem that this is a place ripe for glitches. Oh, and just so we're clear, I'm not a believer in simulation theory. I just like playing along with the theme for this list. But even though I think that everything can be explained logically, this next clip is a little trippy. The CPU that is in charge of getting everything running must have been putting the computing power somewhere else when this went off. I mean, that would be a good sign to tell if you are an important person if you think simulation theory is real. Like, if this is indeed a simulation, I'm going to play with this idea for a moment, and there are a bunch of glitches around you, that would mean that the universal computing power is being used somewhere else on more important and interesting people. So if you see those glitches, that's your sign to step up your game because your life is boring. Next on the list, we have Mark Zuck is a Matrix program. If there's anyone that could be a lizard person or a robot or an alien or some sort of simulation-based software person that has been put into the world to control us and cause havoc, it would be Mark Zuckerberg. And there have been several moments where people have caught this poor excuse for an alien trying to be a human acting weird. But this one has to be my favorite.
You need to focus and try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible. But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human, still.
The Zuck was caught red-handed saying that he wasn't a human. That has to be one of the most obvious glitches ever. The programmers would have been like, who's in charge of writing the script for Zuckerberg, and why did you make him act like a robot and make references to not being human because you're blowing our cover big time? I mean, let's say in the next few years there's a massive revolution and we get into a bunch of secret files about which famous people living among us are aliens and which ones are humans. I would be more surprised to find out that this guy is actually fully human. Next on the list, we have the rain spot. I mean, we all hate bad weather, so I think many of us would prefer if we could condense it into one spot and have everything else nice all the time. Well, I guess there must have been a trial run for some new rain patches because that's what we got here. It would seem that for some reason the clouds in that area have glitched out and the rain is pouring down in only one spot. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. Now that has to be some sort of glitch or the plot to a children's book called The Loneliest Rain Cloud. A book about a cloud that is rainy all the time, but all the other clouds around him are nice, so he has no friends. And he travels around everywhere trying to make friends, but everyone runs from him because they don't want to get wet. Someone get my publicist on the phone because I have a book to write. Next on the list, guys, we have the smartphone time traveler. One of the wildest things ever caught on camera is the footage from a Mike Tyson fight that looks like there's someone filming the fight in the background. The reason that this is so weird is because the footage is from 1995, and even though there were some phones back then that could have been considered smartphones, there was nothing released that had a camera on it. That wouldn't be released for another 5 years. And when you look at the footage, it seems like that phone is a very modern smartphone. Now, this could have been some device that simply looks like a phone, and people have been making the case to say that this is in fact a smartphone so they can argue that time travel is real, but really we have no idea what happened here. We have no idea who was recording this Mike Tyson fight with this mysterious device. Next on the list, guys, we have a plane vanishes. Now, there have been a lot of reports of all sorts of stuff like this. Like, apparently all of the alien stuff that happened in Roswell, New Mexico, that was all faked by the government because they were testing out experimental aircrafts, and they decided that making people think that aliens were real was safer than telling them what the military was up to. So what you're about to see might be some secret government aircraft caught on camera, or it might be a glitch. I mean, you all saw what I just saw, right? There was a plane there and then it was gone. Everyone was focused on it. It was in the sky and then it blinked out of existence like half the people in Avengers Infinity War. Also, random question for the comments. Would you rather be one of the people who blinked out of existence when Thanos snapped his fingers and then came back 3 years later to a whole new world? Or would you have rather been there the whole time and lived through the whole thing and saw the world post-snap? Well, whoever was on the plane seems like they didn't have a choice in disappearing because because now they are for sure gone. Unless the sky is all a massive projection and that was just a glitch on one of the screens. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have the Pope vanishes. Now, I will start off by saying I have no idea what the Pope does and what his powers are. Can he fly? Can he control the weather? Does he have telekinesis? I never went to church, so I don't know. So the clip that went viral of him vanishing about a year ago might be one of his holy powers, or it was a glitch that no one was supposed to see. Let's take a look. That was something that was seen from the Pope's balcony as he was addressing people about the COVID-19 pandemic. After his speech was done, he just vanished, and there were several news outlets that showed the exact same thing. So this wasn't just a broadcast that screwed up. Some say this might have been a hologram of the Pope because he was actually isolating somewhere and didn't want to catch the virus. I mean, we know that hologram tech is real. Most of us have seen that massive Tupac hologram that came out years ago. And if anyone has access to the latest and greatest hologram tech, it has to be the Pope. All right, guys, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I've been your host, Jade Arena.